Hey guys, in this Meet the Attorney episode, I have a special treat for you. I'm going to interview someone who not only is an attorney, but is also a marketer. Two topics that are near and dear to my heart. So, without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rocking week thus far. Today is Meet the Attorney, but today I have a special Meet the Attorney episode, because not only is the person I'm going to interview an attorney, but she also happens to be a marketer, which, as you guys know, I love both entities because I market and help attorneys grow their entities. But this person does the same thing, and she happens to be an attorney. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the great Davina Frederick. Hey, Davina, how's it going?
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me here. I'm so excited.
I am glad that you are on, and I am glad that we found each other. So I've already said a few things about you in the pre-intro, but in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
So as you said, my name is Davina Frederick, and I am a Florida licensed attorney. I have been a licensed attorney since, I think I'm in my 16th year now. Prior to that, I had a 15-year career in professional services marketing. And I got an opportunity to go to law school, and I did so, graduated when I was about 40, and started my own law firm right out of law school, which everybody tells you not to do, but I did it with the intention. I went to law school with that intention, became an attorney, and grew a successful law firm business. I started having a lot of other women lawyers asking me how I did that. And so in 2013, I began coaching other professional service business owners. And over time, that really became women law firm owners exclusively, because they were the vast majority of my clients anyway. So I rebranded to attract them in particular. Then Wealthy Woman Lawyer was born, and I've been doing this business for about a decade now. So Wealthy Woman Lawyer is a law firm growth strategy and business coaching service for women law firm owners who want to scale their law firm businesses to and through $1 million in annual gross revenue.
Awesome. Love it. Quick question for you though. When you were practicing law fully, what was your area?
Well, interestingly, I started out the way I tell people not to do, which is I practice door law. So anything that came through the door, that's what I did. Some people may call it threshold law. Anything that comes over the threshold, that's what I did. So I didn't know exactly what area I wanted to practice. And so I did a number of things, all consumer-based kind of stuff. I did family law, so divorces, adoption, landlord-tenant, business, estate planning. But my bread and butter money, the reason my first practice, I've had 2 law practices, the reason my first practice was so successful is I started it in 2007. And if you remember what happened in 2008 was the foreclosure crisis, right? And in 2007, I got an opportunity to become local counsel for some of the large firms out of Miami, Florida that were handling these foreclosures. And that became sort of my bread and butter money and my foundation to grow my law practice, while I learned how to be a better family law attorney and learned how to do estate planning and things like that. So my second law practice, I wound up leaving my first law practice in the hands of my capable business partner, My second law practice, though, I started in 2011, was all virtual before virtual was a thing. And I focused on wills and estates, wills, trusts, and estates. So I narrowed that down to that. And I also did some business law for small businesses. So
Nice.
I'm a Gemini. I like a lot of variety in my life. So that you can tell that from looking at my career.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you started out as a marketer, I mean, that is such an intriguing thing. So talk to me about that as well. I would love to hear that whole thing.
About starting a law firm right out of law school?
No. Starting out, you said you started out as a marketer. You was
as a marketer. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, as a marketer. So I graduated from college with a degree in journalism, and I was specifically print journalism. I really wanted to be the foreign correspondent that traveled around the world and reported from exotic locations. And I always say that if anybody who knows me well knows that that's hilarious because I get motion sick so easily. So the thought of me jetting around the world really wasn't much of a reality. But I wound up also getting married to my first husband and staying fixed in one location instead of moving on as I had planned to do. Well, there weren't a lot of jobs for reporters out of college because there's only one newspaper in town in Orlando. And I didn't think that I had a good shot because people who get jobs there stay there for years. And so I wound up getting a job working as a technical writer for an engineering firm. And what they really wanted, though, was not a technical writer. They wanted someone who could do marketing writing and help do proposals for the engineers. So they wanted somebody to translate engineer speak into what it needed to be to send in marketing proposals. And so that's how my marketing career started. It evolved. I wound up working for the largest law firm in Central Florida as their public relations and marketing manager. And then I moved on from there to work for an agency. And in the agency, I was their lead copywriter, the editor of all their affinity publications, and we had clients all over the world. So that was kind of my evolution through my marketing career. But I felt like the reason I went to law school is because, one, I had an opportunity. I had by then divorced and married my second husband. And also, I felt like my first career sort of evolved without me choosing it. It evolved kind of based on opportunity that I followed. I didn't set out to be a professional copywriter and marketer for professional service businesses, but that's what I had been doing. And so I said, well, I'm going to be intentional and go to law school and become a lawyer. But being a lawyer did not turn out to be what I thought it was going to be in the day-to-day practice of running a law firm. So ultimately, when I started this business in 2013, I still had my second law firm. And I just sat down and thought, what business can I do that will kind of combine skills throughout my entire career that I've accumulated throughout my entire career? Where can I bring in those writing and marketing skills and an understanding of how you get business as a professional service business owner and my strategic thinking that I had learned as a lawyer. And that is how I came to start the business that I did, because I found that a lot of the business owners who were coming to me for help in doing some marketing things, it was sort of a side gig when I started, didn't have a strategy. They didn't have a plan. And like that's the number one no-no in marketing, right? We need to know why we're doing what we're doing, right?
100%.
And so my strategic thinking skills really came into play in starting this business.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. So a lot of things swimming in my head right now, because this is like I said before, this is near and dear to my heart because I love marketing. I've been in marketing for forever, and I've been servicing attorneys for a long time as well. So this is definitely the most intriguing topic. But let's get into the topic at hand. In terms of what we're talking about today, the title of this is Law Firm Marketing in the Virtual Age. So let's talk about that. That obviously you've got a ton of experience in that. What does marketing in the virtual age look like today?
So my first book that I wrote is called Law Firm Marketing in the Virtual Age. And there's, of course, a long subtitle to it, 10 Bold Actions to Take Now. But the reason I chose to write around that topic is because, as you know, marketing has really changed, and it's changed very quickly over the last couple of decades. When I started out in marketing, businesses were asking themselves, do I even need a website? Because that was what our agency, one of the things that we did was create websites and it was all new. It was cutting edge, leading edge in the 90s, right? And now, of course, everything has changed. And if you're not showing up online, you're missing the boat. You need to be participating in online communities and finding ways to get visible and get out there. And so the reason I wrote this book is I wanted to help attorneys we get approached by a lot of people who are marketers. But as you know, somebody who does SEO is very different from somebody who does social media management, but they might both call themselves marketers. Ad salespeople might call themselves marketers, right? And they all are falling under this umbrella of marketing. So I wrote the book to help lawyers understand what it means when somebody says they're a marketer and to help them create their own strategy and then be able to have intelligent conversations with people who approach them with marketing services and say, oh, I understand what that means. And yes, I need somebody like you, or no, that's not in my strategy right now, but maybe next year, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really a guide to help lawyers create their own strategy around their geographic location, their personality, the type of area that they practice, all those factors that go into, and obviously their ideal client profile, where they hang out, all of that, right? All those factors that go into developing a good strategy. That was my purpose in sort of creating that book.
Gotcha. And I have a link to that. So I'm going to put that in the show notes. So if any attorneys out there listening to this want to check it out, you feel free to check it out. I think it's a good gift. So thank you for sharing that. So let's talk a little bit about the marketing. As you know, I love marketing. I 100% agree with you, because when I used to go out and talk to people, I would always say, yeah, I'm a digital marketer, but they never got it. So now I just niche down and I say, yeah, I provide lead generation services for attorneys. Cool. They get it. Right. And then they'll ask questions like, what do you do? And then I'll tell them, into the details. But before, when I would say digital marketing, I would get the deer in the headlights look, or just turn away. Oh, okay, good. And then they walk away. So, yeah, it's very important to be very clear exactly what you do. Because I don't do social media. I don't do any of that stuff. But, lead generation is my jam. So speaking of niching down, I've noticed, and you've said it earlier also in the podcast, that you focus on women-owned attorney law firms. What made you come to that, and what's the benefit of niching down?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, attorney, are you running a lot of digital ads, or maybe even SEO, Facebook ads, et cetera, and you're not getting the results that you're hoping for? Have you been trying to generate leads online, and although you are getting some results, you're thinking, man, something's got to be wrong because I should be getting a lot more attention? Well, if that's you, I want to help you out. Give us a call, 888-416-7752. I'd love to sit down, find out a little bit more about your business, and see if we can help you. Now, even before you do that and before we sit down and talk, I'd love for you to go to our website, lbmsllc.com. Once you type that, you're going to see on the top right-hand corner of the page a little green button that says Free Online Report. I want you to click on that button, fill out the form, and you will be emailed within 24 hours a free online report as to see exactly what's going on in your business, how are you showing up online, and that's the first step to be able to decipher exactly what's going on in your business. So if you would love a free analysis and to help us to get you to the next level, take that action right now. Download the free online report, and that will be the first step. Then give us a call at 888-416-7752, and we will schedule some time together. So with that, I'm going to bring you right back to the show.
So I mentioned this briefly earlier, but what I did when I started this business is I was trying to find create a business that would be satisfying to me and my sort of innate natural skills, something that I would really enjoy doing. And so I started out helping people with, I'm a professional writer. So I started out with copy and design and typical things like that you might think around marketing. And I very quickly realized that people needed more strategic help. They needed to understand why they were doing what they were doing, because they come to me and say, Davina, will you do this for me? And I say, sure, but why are you doing this? Doesn't make sense for you. And so within a few short months, I very quickly switched to strategy and coaching. And at first I worked with professional service business owners. I was a member of BNI. I had a lot of connections with many different professional service business owners. Then it became just apparent that my ideal client was really the woman law firm owner. I worked with multiple, I worked with men and women and different types of professional service businesses. I knew from the beginning I was not an e-commerce gal, right? But it became apparent that my ideal client were really the women law firm owners who I so related to, and they related to me because I had been there and done the thing that they wanted to do. And I found out the reason, what kind of propelled me to niching down to just women is back when we were having in-person events, I would have in-person retreats with my clients. And I just found that the conversations were different when it was women only in the room, because women could freely discuss the particular challenges of being a woman in a male-dominated industry. Even though more and more women, like over 50% of law grads now are women, even though more and more women have entered the legal space, for hundreds of years, it has been dominated by what I call the white men over 50 club, white men over 60 club now that I'm over 50. But it is based around that sort of traditional model, of a patriarchy sort of thing. And so we're seeing a lot of women work in big law firms for many years. And then when they hit their 50s, they're leaving. The ABA has done a report called Walking Out the Door about women leaving the big law firms. And so they're doing so because it doesn't fit their needs. Working in this sort of traditional manner doesn't fit their needs because they don't have a wife at home, most of them, right? And so that whole working 80 to 100 hours a week and billing 2,000 to 2,500 hours a year doesn't work. So more and more women are going out and starting their own law firm businesses, and they're doing it in a way that fits their needs and their lifestyle. And that includes a lot more flexibility and time freedom, because they need that to balance all the other things for which they are responsible.
Gotcha.
And so that just became kind of I just wanted to create a place for women law firm owners to say, these are my people when it comes to my career, and they get me and they know what I'm going through and they're there to support me. And so that is what we do.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about that as well. For a little deeper. Do you work with startups? Because you mentioned something about starting out their own firm. Do you work with startups?
Yeah. So I have my clients range from those who are starting their law firm through getting that $1 million in gross annual revenue, but I serve them in different ways. So if it's a startup or somebody who is climbing that 6-figure ladder, so they are maybe they've made their first $100,000 in revenue and they're wanting to get to that $250,000 or 350 or the $500,000 mark. That group is served through a program I created specifically for those first two stages of business, startup and that middle climbing that six-figure ladder stage, right? Where they're working their way up to that million. And that program is called the Wealthy Woman Lawyer League, and is a group coaching program that I have created specifically to help that audience because their budgets are different and their needs are different. From the $500,000 up to getting over $1 million and into multi-million, I do private coaching with those clients who are at that stage because they've made it to that upper six figures, but they're struggling to get over that $1 million mark because what they did to get there is not the same thing that's going to get them to the next level. And so that requires a different level of intensity and coaching. So I've kind of broken it into two different options for three different stages. So while I do serve people who are just starting out, I through this group program, a lot of my clients come to me, they've already made six figures, in their revenue, but they're struggling to leverage their resources. So they're struggling to manage their time effectively, hire a team, hire other attorneys, set up systems, that kind of thing. So that's the meat of that. The ones who are starting out, we focus on getting them those attracting better clients, those right fit clients, because most of them are doing kind of how I started out, whatever comes to the door. So we're working on marketing strategy and that kind of thing. Obviously, marketing strategy can change over time as the firm grows, but that's really the focus of those startups is we need to get more revenue so we can invest in those things to help us scale. So that's the focus there.
So what about if a women-owned law firm who's making $3 million approaches you? You have something for them?
Well, I would have a conversation with her and I would find out what the issues were that she's facing in terms of, what her goal is and what she's trying to do. And if I felt it was a good fit, then we could proceed with that. It's not something so this is something that I talk with my clients about, and I'm sure you know exactly what this is all about because you're an expert marketer. But your marketing messaging, who you're marketing to, the people that you're messaging, doesn't mean that it is all about messaging because you're trying to attract the majority of your clients that fit into that. It doesn't mean if somebody comes along who's outside of your scope that you're messaging, if you feel you can help them, you still have an opportunity to do that. So I'll give you an example. Last year, it was 2022. So at the end of 2021, December 31st, I got a call. I answered the phone, which was, I never do. But I happened to be home alone at the moment. My husband had gone out someplace, New Year's Eve, and I was in the afternoon and I was sitting there and the phone rang and I answered it. And it was a man who worked in a partnership. And he said, I really would like to hire you for coaching. Can I do that? And I took him on as a client, as a private coaching client. And now he would not have been a good fit in the Wealthy Woman Lawyer League community because it's a community of women. But as a private client, I decided to take him on. And it was really an unusual situation because he also didn't own his own law firm. He was working in partnership with these people that they kind of ran the practice. They had very specific needs. And so I accepted him as a client. He paid in full for the year and we got started. And by the end of the year, he had really achieved a goal that he didn't even know it was a dream, but it was nothing that we were working toward. It was something else an opportunity that came into his path and had a really successful year as a result of that. So, and a lot of that was the mindset coaching around that we had done.
What a way to start 2022 off, huh? Kudos.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Fantastic. 2023 is a fabulous year for him. So, I also help, my clients are women, the women law firm owners who get over that million. They stay with me as they scale up to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. So some of them start out with me, they're in that high six figures, and then they stay I've got one client that has 4 years. When she started out with me, she was in high six figures. We got over $1 million the first year, and every year it's eked up a little bit. She stayed with me for 4 years and has made that kind of revenue over and over again. So, that's the exciting part for me. I as I'm sure it is for you, when you see your clients get those results,
Oh my God,
that's the best.
That's the best for me. I do cartwheels. So tell me something. I want to help you out as much as possible. You're on the show. I want to promote your brand. I believe in your brand. It's awesome. What are some common things that you see people coming to you for that you fix 100%? And it's such a common thing that if they were to tweak it just a little bit, they could just blow it off the water. What is that common thing? I'm sure there always is.
Yeah. So, well, I work with helping them scale. So it involves more than marketing. But if we're talking about marketing, in terms of marketing, I think the part.
Well, it could be on scaling. I mean, maybe the common thing is that they don't know how to let go or something like that. I don't know.
Well, yeah, delegation is definitely a big thing. Now that you mentioned that, prioritizing your time. I think one of the challenges of entrepreneurs, whether they're lawyers or working, because I've had other types of businesses and I know I've been there, done this, is that we don't prioritize our time well. I once had a mentor tell me, Davina, you can manage all the details. You are perfectly, allowed to manage all the details if you want, but you can do that or you can grow. You cannot do that, but do them both. You cannot grow and micromanage all the details. And for lawyers, we're very cautious and careful. Our job is to make sure that T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And so by nature and by training, we tend to be very risk averse and always with our mind on all the details. But when it comes to scaling your business, you have to shift your thinking around that, and you have to trust that you have the ability to hire and to train people to manage details so that you can focus on strategic thinking, CEO level thinking, being a visionary leader. If you don't create space for that in your calendar and in your mind, you will never be able to scale to the level that you want. So the most common issue is that people they're not working in the highest and best use of their time. They have things on their to-do list and on their calendar that they should not be doing. They are not the best they are not the best person for every job in their business like they think they are. So that, I would say, is probably the biggest issue. People are focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah. It's funny how things are alike across all industries. So I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm going to ask you to help me, because I think is going to help a lot of people who are listening to this. Most of the things that I do is when people come to my website, they schedule a discovery call. Now, during this discovery call, in this one particular case, this was early on in January, early this year, that this person I don't even know why they ended up in my call, because they were so digital adverse. They got a lot of their, leads from referrals, from other attorneys and different sources, networking, et cetera, et cetera. But I think something in my messaging got them intrigued into talking to me. But they were so closed. They were very closed. So since we're talking about marketing in the virtual age, what advice would you have given this person?
So they were very close to hearing so they scheduled this appointment with you. And then when they got on the call, they were very close to what you were offering them as a solution.
Correct.
Is that yeah. So it's really interesting that you use the term closed, because I have a colleague who she and I were talking, and she told me this phrase, and I absolutely love it. And I use it a lot. And that is, are you open to? And she says, when you do that, people do not like to be identified as closed-minded. And so when you ask them, are you open to hearing this, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say that. And if they're not, they're going to say that. And then you can end the call. But if you say to them, are you open to this? And then they say, well, yeah, sure. Then you go down a path. You can go down a little further on that path with them. Also, I think it's important to recognize that not everybody's a right fit for us, right? Cool. So he might not be open to it, and that might be your saving grace to let him go, right? I look at it. I remember when I first started this business, and even my law practice as well, is there was this feeling of like wanting everybody to sign up and everybody because I know how awesome it is what I do. I see the results, but I've learned through the years that sometimes when things don't work out and people don't sign up with me, I always think of it as the universe protecting me. Like there's asteroids and space debris coming at me, and it just goes right by me, and I'm being protected. And so I often look at those situations as and they're being protected too, because it's not the right thing for them at that time. And I'll if you don't mind, I'll illustrate with a little story.
Sure.
I had a client who worked with me for about a year, and she was always a little bit in chaos. And no matter what we did, she couldn't settle down on this thing. It just wasn't, she wasn't absorbing. In her heart, she wasn't really a business owner. In her heart, she really wanted to be in public service law. So public defender, legal aid, that kind of thing. But she had her own business, and she couldn't get the money piece because in her heart, that was just where she was kind of in that government world in her mind and her heart. And when it came time to renew, at first she renewed, and then she called and she said, Davina, I know I renewed, but I'm not going to continue. And I said, okay. And I was really disappointed because I really wanted to help her. She was just this amazing human being, very radiant and full of life and full of light, and just somebody who was a joy to be around. And I really wanted her to be successful for this business. I wanted it so badly for her. And I was disappointed. I was disappointed for her. I was disappointed for me because this person was moving on.
Right.
But I found out a few months later that she was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer. And the next 2 to 3 years of her life were a real battle. It really became something very, very serious. And she had a young child, and she eventually passed away. And I always think to myself, there's another, that people are all on their own journey. And sometimes we don't know the reasons why things don't work out, but there is a reason why things don't work out. And in that particular case, she did not know it yet, but she was going to be in the fight for her life over the next 3 years. And that's where her attention needed to be. And I didn't know it at the time. So even though I wanted this thing for her, once that news came out, I was, the universe is protecting both of us in that situation, because her attention needed to be someplace else.
Yeah.
And she got that, feeling or message that this wasn't a right fit for her at that time to continue. And so that's kind of why my approach to those things. If people are not open to what I'm doing, I do look at it and say, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not ready. And that leaves space for somebody who is ready, who is eager and needing what you offer,
I so agree with that. I've had to let go of so many clients because of that, especially when I switched over, because I used to try to service every local business. And then when I switched over a few years ago to just attorneys, it's like, it's so liberating, because I can focus on creating funnels just for attorneys, and that's, I don't have to worry about, how this HVAC company is going to work, So, I hear you.
Yeah, you realize, I know I took that in a very woo-woo direction, but you do start to, I think as we mature as business owners, we do we move out of that phase of thinking that everybody is for us and we're for everybody. That saying there, you could be the juiciest, ripest peach in the orchard, and some people aren't going to like peaches. I mean,
I've
so
never heard that one. I like that.
yeah.
But that was an awesome story. Very touching. And you just never know why.
Yeah.
Why things don't work out. But not everyone's for you. So yeah, I totally agree. What's next? What's next in Davina's world? What's in it for 2023? What are you striving to do?
Well, in 2023 with Wealthy Woman Lawyer, we have some exciting plans. I've been working with a new marketing agency, in fact, and we are really working on growing the Wealthy Woman Lawyer League, because the reason I created it is I wanted to create something at a price point that would be a no-brainer for women law firm owners to get the help they need, because I want to help thousands of women law firm owners create their own businesses, not just businesses, but wealth generating businesses. There are stats out there that only 1.7% of women owned businesses get over the $1 million mark, that
Wow.
most kind of stay in the low six figures, and maybe they're lucky to get 100,000 a year. And so I feel like with women law firm owners, there's absolutely no reason why they need to stay in that sort of struggle of not making enough money in their business, that they need to make money so that they can fully fund and enjoy their life, have time to enjoy their life. And if they build a systems driven business that is run by a team, then they have the freedom to come and go and not worry that their business is going to fall apart if they are on vacation, or if they're out sick, or if they're having to deal, with something else. And so I'm really on a mission in that regard. And that is what I'm working on in 2023. I'm working on growing that audience, getting the word out and saying there is help for you if this is your situation that you're in and you really want to be successful. For me, it's more than the money, but it's Wealthy Woman Lawyer for a reason, because I believe that when women have economic power, that we can do and do great things for our community. And so I'm trying to get more economic power in the hands of women. And I think women law firm owners there's no reason why they can't have more economic power.
Amen to that. And I know when this episode goes out, it's going to be past this date. But today happens to be International Women's Day. So
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great day. Yeah, it's a great day to do this, International Women's Day. I posted some content today about that very topic, and about how all over the world, there's still so much work to be done for women and women's rights. And so, this is just one little piece of what I'm doing that I hope is a pebble in a pond, because I think if we can get women are so many women volunteer on top of having a career, on top of having their families. And I would love to get women to a point where they're able to write big checks for things that they believe in terms of changing the world, being the change they want to see in the world. And so that they can fund initiatives for making those kinds of changes if that's what they desire.
So you're going to create a bunch of Oprahs. That's just a joke. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. Great initiative, and I would love if any way I can help you achieve that. I'm not a woman, but I can I can at least assist you in helping that. Just reach out. So I have a couple of questions before I let you go. I know you're a busy woman, but just how important is it to be diverse in your marketing? I mean, I know we talked about scaling and everything like that, but I want to touch on diversity in terms of marketing. How important is it for someone who's, a young attorney trying to get their firm out there? What advice do you have in terms of diversity?
Well, one of the things, so when I discuss in the book, when I'm talking about law firm marketing, the virtual age, it is not a book about going and marketing on social media. It is a book that helps you figure out what your marketing strategy should be, which is what I recommend is that people pick three. So pick three different approaches to your marketing, and some might be traditional and some might be new and cutting edge. So for instance, if your clients, if you are an estate planning attorney and you can get in front of a lot of people who are, in their 70s or 80s, and they're really thinking about the future and they're bringing their adult children into it. So if you're getting I've had clients go and speak at nursing homes, for instance. So public speaking is still very much, it's a traditional marketing method, but it's still very much a good and viable marketing method for people who work locally or regionally, and they like public speaking, and they have an audience that is already a captive audience that they can get in front of. So that might be mixed with being on Facebook, where you find the adult children of the sandwich generation who are caring for young and the older, and all the women in their 40s and 50s hanging out on Facebook. We took it over despite Mark Zuckerberg's best attempts. The women in the 40s and 50s taking over. That may be a place where you get in front of women of the sandwich generation, right? So it's a mix of different things. There's so many things you can do for marketing and lead generation. I think you have to figure out what works best for your business. So a strategy of in-person speaking, maybe being in Facebook groups where you get leads from other lawyers, and then also doing Google advertising, right? Or something like that may be a perfect mix for you in your business, depending on what your strategy is. So in the book, what I do is I give multiple different options for marketing, and I have key considerations. So you can look at the different considerations, look at the pros and the cons. Is this for you? Here are the pros, here are the cons, and you can determine if that's for you. So if you're an introvert who never wants to leave the house and do public speaking, then that's not going to be a good approach for you, right? So that's kind of the what I would say is get clear on who your ideal client is, where they hang out, what differentiates you from other law firms in your similar practice areas. What's your geographic location? Is it tied, or is your practice area something that is federal or something that you can expand out of your local geographic area? What is your personality? What is the personality of your team? What is your budget? Because there's some people starting out that they don't feel like they can afford Google advertising yet, for instance, but they might really max out their Google Local or Google My Business. There's all kinds of different things that you can do based on what your budget is, but you need to take into account all the different factors in developing your strategy.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello there, listeners. If you're an attorney and you would love to be a guest on the show so you can promote your services to people that listen to the show and beyond, give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email at podcast@lbmsllc.com. One of my associates in the podcasting team will send you an email and connect with you, schedule some time, send you the podcast intake form, and schedule you to be interviewed on the show. So if that's something that you really would want to do, go ahead and take one of those actions, and we'll take it from there. So until then, enjoy the rest of the show.
That's perfect. Perfect segue into my next question. What do you think? How do you feel about sticking to just one practice to focus on, or do you think they should have like if they're a family law attorney, they should also do estate planning, let's say, or personal injury or whatever?
So it is so. I niche down to women law firm owners. That's a very, very tiny specific niche, right?
Not that tiny.
And so I know. Well, tiny clients. Maybe.
I got a lot
maybe
of clients, and
comparatively.
a lot of them are women owners, women law firms.
Right. Yeah, there is plenty of work. Whatever you choose to do, know that there is plenty of work. If you have competitors, you know you're onto something because there's plenty of work. But what I will say is this: I think it is a common practice to tell lawyers to niche down, and I think it's good advice by and large. There is a caveat though. And so why I think it is good advice is that the law is too vast and too detailed for you to know everything, right? So the more niche down you are, the more you can go deep and truly be an expert in that area. And the more you can position yourself that way in your marketing, which is going to really call out those clients who are your ideal clients. So when I changed, I mean, my business was like my main business is D. Frederick Media Marketing. My Wealthy Woman Lawyer is a brand under D. Frederick Media Marketing. And I created it because D. Frederick Media Marketing means nothing in terms of calling out my clients, but Wealthy Woman Lawyer is very specific. So it allows you to do that by niching down. And also it makes life easier because then you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know anything about divorce if all you do is estates and probate. You don't have to worry about that. And it makes you a great referral source for your attorney colleagues. The caveat, though, is that if you are a young attorney and starting out in a firm and you do not have a lot of capital and you go start a business like a personal injury law firm, which is largely, it is based on contingency. In other words, people come and they hire you. They don't pay you anything. They don't pay you out-of-pocket costs. They don't pay your fees. They don't pay you anything until you get a result for them. Then when you get a result for them, you get a cut of that check. That's contingency. If you're a young lawyer starting out and you're doing that, you're competing against the big personal injury firms of the world, like the John Morgans of the world or the Dan Newlands of the world or whatever. They have a lot of money to be able to front for clients. So if you're not in that position, you either need to get a source of capital or you need to add a practice area that is going to create cash flow for you month in and month out. So you may add to a personal injury practice, family law, because family law is a cash cow. There's a lot of people getting divorced and that those retainers can come in regularly so you can have cash while you're waiting for the big payout. So there are situations where it makes sense to add a little diversity to your practice. And there are many different practice areas where you might want to consider that. Maybe real estate. If the market swings one way or another and real estate collapses and you're used to having closings every week, you might want to have something to hedge that bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do think niching down is better for the vast majority of people for the long run for their business.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot. That's good advice. I don't think I have anything else, but I would love, if it's okay with you, to have you back, because there's another part of this that I would love to get into, but it would make this episode way too long. But I would, but I would love to have you back and get into more scaling strategies and all that kind of stuff. Because I love this topic. I could talk about this all day long. But we both have busy lives. So I'll probably put an end to this now. But before I let you go, though, Davina, is there anything I did not ask you, considering the whole digital marketing stuff, that you think would benefit the audience?
From a marketing standpoint, I would say if you're a business owner and your business is not marketing, that you seek out advice from people who are experts in marketing. And the reason I recommend that is because, so for instance, I'm a lawyer and I went to law school and became a lawyer, and I have a lot of deep knowledge about law. And so people who are Google lawing, going to Google and looking up things about, they are missing the boat in not hiring an expert. And it is the same thing if you are wanting to market your business. I think it's important to get advisors who are experts in marketing because they've gotten their education around marketing. They have spent years and gotten experience and deep knowledge around marketing. And they might know something that you don't know. And also if you're trying to grow a business, you really don't have the time and energy to devote to becoming a deep knowledge expert on every area of your business. You need to build and create a network of advisors there to help you. And those advisors may be your accountant, your bookkeeper, obviously, a coach, marketing professionals, their lawyer. I mean, there are all kinds of professionals that you need on your team to help advise you as you're growing your business. That would be what I would say to do, is cultivate that network of experts to help you.
That is an awesome end to an already awesome episode. Thanks for that. That was a great answer to that question. Appreciate you. So I am going to bid farewell to this episode. I want to thank you for coming, Davina. And again, I'm going to extend an invitation to come back because there's some other stuff I want to get into. But until that second, I'm going to say Davina 2.0 interview. I'll see you then, hopefully, if you take me up on my offer. Until next week, this has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Davina Frederick. Take care, folks. Until next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.